Go ahead and call this meeting in order. First item is roll call.
Alderman Bray.
Here.
Alderman Cleaver.
Here.
Alderman Knox.
Here.
Alderman Mills.
Here.
Alderman Skinner.
Here.
Alderman Soul.
Here.
There is a quorum.
All right, next item be invocation led by Pastor Jason Williams from Valley Community Church, followed by pledge of allegiance from Alderman Knox.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. God, I pray your blessing upon this evening and everything that goes on. God, we also just take time to pray over our leaders, the leaders of this community, all the men and women who serve. God, I just pray, Lord, that you would bless them and their families. God, watch over, protect, keep them in all that they do. God, give them wisdom in the decisions that they need to make. God, for our community. Lord, your word promises that, God, as we honor you, God, and we direct the affairs of our life toward you and your word, God, that you will bless those individuals in that community. So, God, I pray that that would be the case here for our community, God. I thank you for those who serve, and I pray, Lord, that you would bless them in all they do. Watch over, protect, keep us safe, Lord, and allow everything that we do and say here tonight, God, honor you, Lord. We thank you. We give you praise for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item is the approval of the agenda.
Mayor and members of the board, we actually have two items we would like to add to the agenda. The first would be R-2456. It'd be a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley adopting a labor agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police for sworn police officers and authorizing the city administrator to sign the agreement on behalf of the city. The second would be R-2457, which would be a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley adopting a labor agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police for sworn police sergeants and authorizing the city administrator to sign the agreement on behalf of the city.
Just those two then?
Yes.
All right. I will entertain a motion then to amend the agenda to add resolution R-24-56 and resolution R-24-57.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Knox, I have a second.
Second.
Alderman Skinner. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of amending the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The agenda is amended. Next item then is we have a police officer oath of office for Charles Maniday.
Okay, so I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States and the state of Missouri, that I will observe the provisions and the ordinances of the city of Grand Valley, and that I will faithfully discharge all of my duties as a member of the Grand Valley, Missouri Police Department. So help me God.
All right, next item is public comment. We ask the citizens come forward to the podium and microphone. And please give your name and address for the record and make sure you have signed in for the record as well. Do I have anyone who wishes to address the board this evening?
I'm Chuck Johnson, 611 South West Creek, Green Valley. I wanted to address the issue that's coming up about the Santa bus. I am not requesting that the city pay $3,500 or $4,000 a year for an off-duty officer to escort the bus. For the last 28 years, probably the first 18, we had on-duty officers that escorted. When they would get a call, they would leave. We wouldn't have that escort for a while. We have one VIP that always volunteers, always uses his personal vehicle. For the last 10 years, the VIPs have done it. They've used the city vehicle. There's not been a problem with that. And for some reason, it's changed this year. This weekend we were out. Saturday, I didn't have any vehicles escorting me. We had a kid start running out in the street. Fortunately, the driver seen him, hollered at him because there was a car coming. Saturday, we had one private citizen escorting me, had a pickup truck with lights on it. We had a car that cut around between him and a parked car, almost hit a kid. It's not for me. I mean, I'm going to be out there whether or not I have. We're going to try and do the best we can to make sure the kids are safe. I'm asking the city assist the way they've done for the last 28 years. I don't know what's changed. They tell me it's the insurance. The VIPs are authorized to drive city vehicles. They're covered under the city's insurance. I don't know what the issue is there. The VIPs don't have a vehicle anymore, but they've been told they could use non-use police vehicles while they're doing their things. And every time they try and get it, they're told their vehicles broke down or isn't any available or something. I think every year the city gives back 4 vehicles for auction they get chump change for. They ought to keep one of them vehicles and assign it to the VIPs. Maybe put different insignias on it for the VIPs or something. But they don't have a vehicle, they need a vehicle. There are vehicles that could be used in the daytime by them. I'm not asking for anybody to drive, I'm asking for VIPs that are authorized to drive city vehicles. And it makes sense when I have volunteers that are willing to spend their time on it rather than waste the city's money on an off-duty officer. It's for the safety of the kids, and I think the city can give that. I mean, the city sets up the fare for the fair board, that there isn't any account set aside for them. They don't even know what kind of hours that we spend doing that. But now it has to be a special thing to put money out for this that shouldn't even be spent. That's what I've got to say about it.
Anyone else wish to address the board? Seeing none, move on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Alderman Skinner to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right. Next up, we have previous business. It's the second presentation for a liquor license for El Ticliazo Cachina, Y Catina LLC, doing business as Riviera Maya Mexican Restaurants.
So on this one, last time we just presented it. This time we are looking for a motion to approve the new liquor license. They are adding a Sunday license, which the prior owners did not have a Sunday license. Some representation is here tonight if you do have questions for them. Everything is in good order at this point, except they do need to pay for their occupational license and then their liquor license once it's approved. After that, they will be issued their city liquor license. But if you have questions for them, they are here in the audience tonight. Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion to approve.
The only question I have is the actual liquor license isn't issued until we have those things, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions for the applicant? No. All right. I'll entertain a motion then to approve.
I'll move it.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Works. All right. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, you good to go? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is new business. Under new business, we have Grand Valley Santa Bus. Mr. Johnson kind of gave a recap there of what I was going to mention a little bit. I just wanted to put this on the agenda tonight so we can make sure going forward that everyone is on the same page with everything and we know what we need to do moving forward. So I can kind of explain. I don't know if anyone on the board did. I honestly did not know that they were still utilizing the VIPS vehicle / other police car until I saw the Facebook post. I thought they were just using the other VIPS car that was outfitted. But so that being said, I had told Mr. Johnson that we would discuss tonight adding an off-duty police officer to that. As you heard him say, he's not requesting that and doesn't want that. He just wants to use that vehicle. The issue with the use of that vehicle is liability because we don't have any employees that are with the bus. And I think that's why I had offered to talk about an off-duty police officer for that reason. And we also, and Chief can correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't have like a traffic plan or any type of plan, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. And that is something that we haven't had in the past. We haven't had that in the past with a lot of things, but we've started doing with like the UTV rally and the parade and things like that, just to make sure everything moves smoothly. If there is any kind of emergency, we, know how to handle that situation. So that's where we're at on it. I mean, he's not requesting an off-duty police officer, so I don't know if there's anything the board needs to decide tonight then, unless the board wants that to happen. But I think moving forward, especially for next year, I mean, he's only got 2 weekends left this year, but moving forward, I think we need to look at having the traffic plan in place, and then chief and the police department can decide on that if there's anything that we would need to do for next year moving forward, would be my suggestion. So,
Well, for the rest of this year, VIPs have always been allowed to drive their vehicle. I see no reason why we don't continue that with an escort using a VIP as long as we have the VIP vehicle. And I mean, we've done it for 28 years, and now at the last minute pull the plug doesn't, really bode well. And, it is for the kids and some adults, but we've always done that, and VIPs are legal to drive. I mean, under our insurance, they can drive a vehicle. It's no different than CJC when they had reservists, they could drive the pumpers and everything they were qualified for. So I don't see what the issue is.
So is that accurate that VIPs can drive city vehicles under our insurance?
They have at times used a vehicle in conjunction with supporting police officers when they're doing parades, they're doing events downtown, and so we generally pair them up in areas of the least amount of traffic, or paired up with an officer so that there's any concern with the traffic control. A very capable, competent, very dedicated VIPs that we have, but also extending, once a city takes over a roadway and uses a city vehicle to shut it down, we greatly start to expand our liability for owning anything that happens once we say we're gonna own the road. And so there are some considerations the city may wanna consider as far as taking over a plan. And been here several months when the first time this happened last year, and I didn't realize the scope of it, quite honestly, until after it had transpired. And this year it came up, and didn't see a permit come through, and never followed up until this question came up. And so, I think going forward next year, we need to have a process in place to evaluate, like we do anytime. If there's a block party and somebody's closing a street, or like the permit says, if you're affecting the flow of traffic, there needs to be a consideration of how we're doing that. If we're going to, if we're going to support that, if we're going to stand behind whatever that action is that impacts the community.
Yeah, no. And to Rick's point, I mean, I don't know anybody who, wants to stop the Santa bus or anything like that. I mean, if it makes one kid happy, it's completely worth it. But, Chuck, to your point, I mean, it can be dangerous. I mean, you talked about, kids running out in front of buses. I actually just happened to be looking out my window. Well, I heard the sirens and I looked out my window and I witnessed something kind of close to that in Rosewood. And I mean, it wasn't like somebody was about to get hit, but I could see that there's potential for it. And so I do think, and to Chief's point, when we have our law enforcement officers shut down streets, when we have our law enforcement officers shut down streets, I mean, you have to be able to enforce it, right? I mean, that's the whole point, is if you're taking law enforcement action to shut something down, like a VIP couldn't enforce a car that if he says stop and the car keeps going, he has no ability, arrest powers or anything like that to take enforcement action, I guess is what I'm trying to say. One question I have, I mean, this obviously was just a Facebook post that brought this whole thing up, which I thought was odd, but I don't think I got an email or anything on it. Does the fair and does the First Fridays, do they complete the Chapter 347 special event permit application? Do you receive those, Chief?
Yes.
Okay. And is it a ordinance violation having a special event inside of our city limits without completing that?
According to the permit, it could be, possibly, yeah.
Okay. And do we know how long Chapter 347 has been in place? We said it was some fairly recent. I don't know. I mean, I didn't know if this is something that was approved 3 years ago or something. I mean, Chuck, you were obviously mayor. Were you aware of it? I mean, I don't disagree with you. It just seems like this is something that should be reviewed by the police department well in advance and organized, so we don't have any. Sure. I mean, it seems like this is just it seems like it got blown up out of proportion to me.
James come to me, he says, what'd you do to piss off the city?
Yeah.
They said, they wouldn't let the VIPs wear their uniforms.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it cost the city absolutely nothing.
well, I don't want to speak on that, but I mean, this is something that, in my opinion, a simple email to the elected officials could probably have resolved, but I'll leave it at that.
How much more time do you have with Santa Bus this year? Like approximately how many hours, how many days?
2 12-hour Saturdays and 2 10-hour Sundays.
Well, it sounds like the streets need to be shut down. If we got kids running out in the street.
Agreed.
I mean, and then just somebody directing traffic around. It seems like it needs
Do you
to
have
be
an arm
shut
on the
down.
bus like school buses have that go out? Okay. So right now you just direct traffic around it?
We have the bus, James escorts in front of his vehicle, with his vehicle in front. We had the other VIP's vehicle, it used to be in back. They would get out, they would watch for traffic, they'd make sure the kids got across the street safely, that's all I want.
This, in my opinion, seems just like a liability waiting to happen. And if the city's involved in any way, even if our VIPs aren't using a city vehicle and they're just there under their authority as a VIP directing traffic, I just see this being a lawsuit on our
We
behalf.
have the exact same thing with every parade where you got the VIPs out there directing traffic.
But I'm assuming in those situations, we have actual law enforcement officers who are highly trained, have been to the police academy, do this every single day, do traffic stops on public roadways, work accidents, have all the right equipment, have arrest authority to enforce shutting down. city streets. If we just have VIPs out there, we don't have any of that.
So you said you have 44 hours total, so left, you said 2 12s, 2 10s? Okay, would anybody be opposed to approving an off-duty officer to finish out this year so we can finish, like figure something out for the next season to come? Just to have this year covered and just approve the off-duty, like if somebody was willing to do that on off-duty.
So I would say anytime we're talking about off-duty or any of that, that's one of the things that does get approved by the command staff, because for the same liability side of things, we're not going to put anybody out there without knowing what the plan is and what that is. So I think probably before some decision like that was made, I would definitely want the input of chief on.
Yeah, we can sit down and sit down with Chuck. I talked to him on the phone when we talked just the other day, and so first time I've ever talked to Chuck, and first time I've seen him in person here today. So it's the first I've heard of some of those concerns. I'd be happy to sit down with the operations captain and myself and Chuck or whatever representative wanted to be there to understand the route they're traveling, what those concerns are. If you're stopping too close to an intersection, that impedes other cars from getting around. So there's some variations that we probably would want to look at to understand if we're going to take on a stance such as that. It's not something that's going to take much time to figure out, but we would need to know what roads are going to be traveled and what we're going to be shutting down to be very hopeful.
Chief, in accordance of Chapter 347, has Chuck completed the special event permit application and turned that into you?
No.
Is that something we plan on doing?
Now that you know that you go out this Saturday? You go out this Saturday, planning to? Do you think before Saturday, if he gets the permit in, and you'll be able to identify what area of town you're gonna be in, that we could get something set up? So you go you're not breaking it up by day? You don't break it up by day, one part of town, one day? You do. So you'll know where you're gonna be. Maybe we could just get through this.
Yeah, no, we don't have a problem working with anyone, and we'll take the direction of the board with caveat of, we are concerned about children running out in the traffic, and we're doing this into the night hours. That does enhance that concern. So there's some variations we may want to look at in terms of, what that looks like. But we'll be happy to sit down.
Yeah, I mean, Chief, to your point, I think the idea of having like designated stopping locations that the officer can control and it's safe for children, just like a bus stop, right? The bus just doesn't randomly stop on streets just willy-nilly. Am I talking or are you talking? Okay. It's just not willy-nilly. It's, it's very organized. And I think if our city assets are going to be involved in this, we have to be worried about liability.
And I would almost think if you have to shut the street down, wouldn't you need basically two people? I guess
I think to do it safely, you would, yeah.
because you got front and back, I'm just thinking.
Well, if you have a VIP and an off-duty, I mean, I know the VIP doesn't have arrest authority or anything, but having the officer there
Agreed. Yeah.
is
Somebody to
it's
provide,
definitely a necessary thing, I believe.
yeah, provide direction to the VIP, sure.
I'd make a motion that we have the chief sit down with Mr. Johnson and get the schedule figured out, and we support him for the rest of this year.
Before we pick the motion up, what is the cost on that permit? Did we say?
I think it's like $10.
Is it 15?
15. And if you don't do it, it's a municipal code violation if it's not completed.
I got a motion from Alderman Knoxton to direct city staff to meet with Mr. Johnston regarding basically a traffic plan moving forward for the Santa bus, and then along with that, providing off-duty officers for the rest of this year.
The rest of this year.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Sol.
If I can just make a comment, I don't feel comfortable, directing our chief to 100%. I mean, he needs to be able to have the chance to review this. And I think that motion is saying we're telling you to do this. I mean, I don't think he's had a chance to look at what Mr. Johnson is going to provide him with where he wants to stop. So I think if we just make it a little bit more broad than that and
Well,
give,
that's why why the motion says that he sits down with Mr. Johnson and
yeah, I'm good if we leave it at that. Yeah.
It's more, really, your motion is more to give access to the off-duty. I mean, that's what you want to do.
correct.
Estimated cost on that?
44 hours of overtime,
Did you say 44 hours?
approximately, that's what he said.
Times, what's $40, $40 an hour?
About $528 for 12-hour shift, and it'd be, and then it'd be, for 10 hours, it'd be $440.
Any discussion then on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
That's fine. Oh, aye.
All right, thank you. That's it for new business. Next up then, we have no presentations or public hearings. So move on to resolutions. First resolution is R 24-51. It's a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley establishing the need to amend the 2024 budgets.
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution R 24-51.
Motion by Alderman Cleaver to approve resolution R 24-51. Do I have a second?
Second.
Knox. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, this is what we go through at the end of every year, but it's essentially amending the current budget to more accurately reflect actual revenues and expenditures. This is just the resolution approving that. The ordinance will be later in the agenda.
Any additional questions or discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Next up, we have resolution R 24-52. It's a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with Bank of Grand Valley for the facade improvement grant program.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve resolution R 24-52.
Motion by Alderman Mills to approve resolution R 24-52. Do I have a second?
Second.
Bray. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, I remember several months back, we were looking at uses for the ARPA funding. One of the things that we brought you was a facade grant program. As we've gone through a lot of the surveys in the city, improving the aesthetic and viability of downtown has been one of the things that continues to rate high. So we put together a facade grant program that would essentially match what a property owner was going to put into a property, up to $5,000 per address or per unit. So we sent those out to all the property owners within that district. And this is one of them that we got back. This is the Bank of Grand Valley. So the addresses for that would be 502, 500, and 504 Main Street. But essentially what you'd be looking at there is an update to their sign that they have. That's a little worse for the wear, as well as kind of the cleaning, caulking, and painting of the structures that are there.
Questions or discussion?
That's the unit on the lot.
That is the, on the west side of the street, the southern portions there.
Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Next up, we have resolution R 24-53. It's a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with GV Main Street Investment LLC for the facade improvement grant program.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number R 24-53.
Motion by Alderman Skinner to approve resolution R 24-53. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mayor and members of the board, this was another one of the applications, and this is a little bit, we'll say, bigger project or more intense. So basically, if you can imagine everything on the east side of the street, along Main Street there, basically from the railroad tracks north, it would be removing that lap siding that's there now, kind of that wood-looking siding that's there. It would be removing the existing awning, new exterior paint, restoring exterior brick finishes and materials, and then reconfiguring the existing doors and entrances, replacing existing storefront windows, repairing or replacing exterior signage and sign lighting, and provide a new awning. So this was one of the projects that, as far as Missouri Main Street, the downtown Main Street group, they had an architect that kind of showed what that side could be or should be, kind of looking a little bit in the past from what it would have been historically. So that's one of the things that we had shown to the owner, and he is willing to match and then some on the project itself. So it would essentially be a complete reface of the entire front of that building and then around the southern portion. So anybody that's driven by there knows that it's time. We think this would be a good use and could definitely help the appearance of downtown and make that a little more viable.
Will that awning on that side be hard awning or cloth awning, or what do they got planned?
Yeah, so I think the intention with it was it would be kind of a metal awning, kind of similar to what is in front of Iron Kettle, which is actually what the architect that Missouri Main Street used actually recommended, just from a maintenance perspective and aesthetic. He actually thought it matched more with what would have been there.
Is the awning, which like coming from the roof down to the side, is that what that is? Like if you're coming right now currently
Yes.
on Buckner Tarsney and you're coming
Yeah, it's,
north, there's like the missing shingles and
yeah.
stuff?
So what's really there is a flat face building all the way around, and that is an add-on from I don't know what year. Yeah, and they tried to go up and got a local company here that's gone up and replaced shingles, and that's not working. So it would be essentially ripping all of that off, and then all of the siding that you see that's got the wood look.
Okay.
And exposing the brick and the stone that's underneath there.
So it fixed that issue then?
Yes, it rips all of that off.
Are there any time constraints on once we hit the mark?
Yeah, so the agreement that you see that's in here, I think we listed as the work should be done within 6 months. There is a caveat for an extension if progress is being made on it. And I don't remember if I mentioned this earlier, but this is a reimbursement, so the work has to be done, and we get receipts for that before the money goes out. So,
Then are there any, beyond that, are there any other restrictions on like sidewalk or road closings when they do the work?
they'd have to go if it requires that. It would just be the same thing as any other permit when work is being done. So, for that work, a permit would be pulled, and they'd go through community development for that.
And I think you mentioned it when you first brought this up. They have to have like an approved color, like when they're using paint and stuff like that. There has to be an approved color.
Yeah, the color is not necessarily approved or laid out in here. One of the things that Mr. Halpin has said is he kind of sit down with staff and kind of come up with what we think would look good there, an agreement on that.
Not like fluorescent orange or something.
Correct. Yeah, having more of a look and feel of what should be there.
Along that same line, and I think I asked last time, so refresh my memory. We have requirements on signage, don't we?
Yeah, so we'd have to meet whatever current sign regulations we have, yeah. Any of the work done would all, that's something on this project that
No
we,
flashing neon, no.
I couldn't even tell you what the sign regulations are at this point. But prior to application and that, the idea was presented, and we kind of ran it by staff to make sure that what was being proposed is per code, so we don't have any surprises going forward.
Anybody have anything else? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right. Next up, resolution R 24-54. It's a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with the Grand Valley Historical Society for the facade improvement grant program.
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number R 2454.
Okay, motion by Alderman Stoll to approve resolution R 24-54. I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, this is the third of the facade grant resolutions. So this would be for the Historical Society building, which now also the Grand Valley Chamber of Commerce offices out of. But it would essentially be new signage for both the Historical Society and the chamber.
All right. And just to let everyone know, doesn't impact anything, but I am the president of the Grand Valley Historical Society. So just wanted that to be out there. So just if it would happen to be a tie vote, I would abstain on that vote. So do we have any other discussion or questions?
That whole side's gonna all look the same, correct?
What's that?
It'll all look the same, correct? It's not gonna be like this one's this way and this one's this way. I mean,
As to which part?
awnings and all that, everything will.
Yeah, so this one's the Historical Society building, so it's just, this facade grant application was just for signage
Just for
on the
something.
building.
Oh,
Mhm.
I don't think anyone's changing any awnings on that side, are they?
No, the awning work will just be on the east side. Yep, there's none of that on the west.
Else have any questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Next up, we have resolution R 24-55. It's a resolution approving an interagency agreement between the Administration Department and the Parks and Recreation Departments.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve resolution R 24-55.
Motion by Alderman Paredes to approve resolution R 24-55. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, this interagency agreement would allocate funds from the ARPA dollars towards parks and recreation projects. And this is something we worked with Baker Tilly on, who's been our advisor on that. And this would meet the obligation requirement by the end of the year. So it's setting aside and saying that those dollars will be used for parks and recreation projects, which, again, going back to the surveys that have been done and the parks plan, there's a lot of need for parks and recreation facilities. So that would be allocating funds for that. Before those would be spent, obviously, it would have to come back to the board and actually be approved for each individual expenditure, but this is setting aside those dollars for that.
Any additional discussion or questions? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Next up, we have resolution R 24-56. It's a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley adopting a labor agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police for sworn police officers and authorizing the city administrator to sign the agreement on behalf of the city.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve resolution R 24-56.
Alderman Knox approved resolution R 24-56. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, this would be a 3-year agreement for the officers, the FOP. And it would be it's a 3-year on the agreement, a 1 year on the wage side of it. So there is a wage reopener built in for this fall or next fall, I guess. And on this, we did have one of the reps here, so I thank Officer Cummings for his work on that.
Questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Next up then is resolution R 24-57. It's a resolution by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Grand Valley adopting a labor agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police for sworn police sergeants and authorizing the city administrator to sign the agreement on behalf of the city.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number R 24-57.
Okay, I have a motion by Alderman Skinner to approve resolution R 24-57. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Similar to the last, this is for the sergeant agreement. So same scenario, a 3-year agreement, 1 year on the wages, so there'll be a wage reopener with that. I just want to thank Sergeant Carr for her work on this one.
Additional discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right. That's it then for resolutions. Up next will be ordinances.
This is the second reading of Bill Number B 24-18. This is an ordinance calling an election in the city of Green Valley, Missouri on April 8, 2025.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the second reading of Bill 24-18 and bring it back as ordinance number 2459.
Okay, I have a motion by Alderman Knox to approve Bill B 24-18 for its second reading, making ordinance 2459. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, seeing none, this will be roll call.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Knox,
Yes.
Alderman Mills,
Yes.
Alderman Skinner,
Yes.
Alderman Sol,
Yes.
Alderman Bray.
Yes.
Okay, the next up is Bill number B 24-19. This is a second reading. An ordinance approving the 2025 fiscal year budget and comprehensive fee schedule of the city of Grain Valley, Missouri.
Mayor, I move that we accept the second reading of bill number B 2419 and approve it as ordinance number 2460.
I have a motion by Alderman Sol to approve Bill B 24-19 for its second reading, making an ordinance 2460. Do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Bray. Any discussion? Seeing none, this will be roll call.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Knox,
Yes.
Alderman Skinner,
Yes.
Alderman Mills,
Yes.
Alderman Sol,
Yes.
Alderman Bray.
Yes.
Okay. This will be the first reading of Bill number B 24-20. This is an ordinance amending the budget of the city of Grain Valley, Missouri for the fiscal year 2024.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the first reading of bill number B 24-20 and make a second reading by title only.
Okay, I have a motion by Alderman Bray to approve Bill B 24-20 for its first reading, bringing it back by title only for its second reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Sol. Any discussion?
Mayor, members of the board, as I stated earlier, this is just to get a more accurate reflection on actual revenues and expenditures. Obviously, when we go into the year with a budget, it's what we're expecting and forecasting for. So this just is the end of the year activity where we go in and actually show more accurately, what it actually truly came out to be.
Any additional discussion or questions? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
This is the second reading of Bill number B 24-20. This is an ordinance amending the budget of the city of Grain Valley, Missouri for the fiscal year 2024.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the second reading of bill number B 24-20 and approve it as ordinance number 2461.
I have a motion by Alderman Bray to approve Bill B 24-20 for its second reading, making ordinance 2461. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, seeing none, this will be roll call.
Alderman Bray,
Yes.
Alderman Sol,
Yes.
Alderman Skinner,
Yes.
Alderman Mills,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Knox.
Yes.
That's it for ordinances then. Next up is city attorney's reports.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, good evening. Hope everyone is enjoying the start of the holiday season. So the park looks fantastic out there. Just wanted to give a quick heads up as far as, with end of year holidays and things like that coming up. We do have a couple of office closures I want to make sure everybody was aware of. December 24th and 25th, our office is closed. Also on December 31st and January 1st, our office is closed. So we'll pass that along. These are questions. Obviously, city operations are a 24/7 thing. So, if we have police issues or things like that, we keep our cell phones handy. And also, I will be on vacation from January 6th through January 17th. So I'll just arrange coverage for the meetings I'll miss. And I think the third thing is I'd like to wish Mr. Trozen a very well-deserved retirement. I've worked with Mr. Trozen for years and even beyond the time that I've worked with him here at the city. Been fantastic to work with. So pleasure, Mark, and really enjoy. That's all I have, Mayor.
Next up is the city administrator and staff reports.
Start with Chief.
Again, as was mentioned, holiday season, we will have a Shop with a Cop that will be Thursday, December 19th. We have 24 children signed up right now. We work in conjunction with some other law enforcement agencies, particularly the Lone Jack and a couple others that are lined up, Lake Lotawana, and I think there may be another one coming on board. So it gives a chance for us to come together, recognize those that have needs, and try to do what we can with the support of the community to supply those.
Mr. Davies.
Mayor and board, just real quick, as we do every year, we'll be providing a Christmas tree drop-off location here in Armstrong Park that will open it up on December 26th, and it'll run through, I believe, January 13th. That we'll sign and stake here in our park. No artificial trees, and then the Parks Department will dispose of what we take in appropriately.
Yeah, so I wanted to thank all staff for helping out with the mayor's tree lighting this last Thursday. It was a little cool. We decided to have it on the coolest day of the year, I think, but still a good event. I know our Parks and Rec staff put a lot of time into it, as well as Ms. Logan and our PIO, Ms. Lohr. And then I'm sure we got some Public Works and other staff that are on there, but thanks for all the staff time that goes into that. I know it's a lot of work and turns out to be a great event. The last scheduled meeting for the year is it's on the 23rd, which is obviously the week of Christmas. And that's generally a meeting that we cancel. With the business that was handled tonight, we have everything that has to be done by the end of the year done. So if the board would see fit, would recommend us canceling the meeting on the 23rd.
Need a motion? Yeah. Make a motion that this is our last meeting for the rest of the year.
All right, got a motion by Alderman Skinner to cancel the meeting on the December 23rd. I have a second.
Second.
Alderman Knox. Discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right.
Nate, only other thing I had, I guess Joe kind of broke some news that I wasn't necessarily planning on doing at this point, but
It's out there now.
we definitely would like to thank
Joe.
Mr. Trozen. And there'll be more of that later. That was all for staff comments.
All right, next up then, Board of Alderman reports and comments. Alderman Cleaver.
I just want to say I was out last Thursday for the Christmas tree lighting and looked like a very good turnout. The event looked very well organized and all the lights and everything looked very good. So enjoyed it and like everyone else was enjoying it and very well time consuming. And so thank you to all the staff and everyone that put it together. That's all I have.
All right, Alderman Knox.
I just want to say, Shannon, to pass on thanks to your people and all the staff and everybody for the park. It looks beautiful. Job well done. Mark, didn't know he was leaving, been there, done that, got bored, went back to work, so.
Skinner.
Yeah, Mark, thanks for everything you do and have done. Congratulations. Don't know, we'll find out the details, but if I don't see you again, congratulations.
Alderman Bray.
I'll echo the comments about the Christmas tree lighting. I was also there. Very great turnout, way more than I expected the whole night. The other thing I have is a couple of meetings ago, I brought up traffic up on the water tower. You guys increased patrols. I asked last meeting if you had any numbers on how many tickets you wrote. If you don't have that with you, if you can email it to me, just so when I talk to the people up there, I'm speaking of the fact and not assumption.
Yeah, we can send that to you.
Appreciate it.
Alderman Mills.
Nothing at this time.
All right, Alderman Sol.
I had a couple people approach me about wanting to bring up the items in the backyard, like the vehicles and the trailers and stuff being parked in people's backyards and limiting that to a certain amount. And I was wanting to, I was a nay vote, and I was wanting to bring that back for further discussion. Possibly just changing the verbiage on it or the limits to it. The idea that I had was limiting it to lots under 1.5 acre, 2 trailered vehicles. That includes like an RV or boat or wave runners, stuff like that, and 2 motor vehicles, which would be excluding like a lawnmower or something silly like that. I do want to make a middle ground because there's a lot of people who are concerned about it. I'm not wanting to be super strict like the one that was presented before. So I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts on that whole thing or wants to also bring that up.
Well,
Is
of
that
course-
something,
Oh, go ahead.
is that something that, they'll have to go back to plan and zoning, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, if that was the
I mean,
path,
is
that
that
we need to go
something
back
that
through
we
the
need to talk
process.
about beforehand though? So, I mean, or just send it back to them?
Are you making a motion that we bring it back up?
I'm making a motion, we bring it back up.
So he'll need a second or it dies.
But I mean, we still need to go back to P and Z though, right? I mean, can,
Yeah, so I guess the motion in a sense would be, yeah, that staff, you'd be directing staff to look at the issue again, which would then, since it's a zoning regulation, would then trigger the public hearing side for P and Z and then the board. I think to your question, Mayor, if there are certain things that a board member is wanting to be looked at or that kind of thing, or some examples of what they would like, I think that input would be welcomed and would be
I mean, would it be,
beneficial if that's.
Joe, should that be something, so if he's wanting to reconsider it, he can, since he was on the side, he could bring it back up for reconsideration, right? And then we could consider it like it was.
So again, this is the first I'm hearing of this, so I didn't have a chance to kind of look. We would need to look at the procedural posture of the item, whether it could be even something that can be reconsidered or if it needs to be brought completely anew. But either way, probably the best course of action would be to put it on the agenda for a discussion topic at your next meeting. And then if the board decides as a group that that's what they want to do is have staff go forward and work on it again, that y'all would discuss it and vote on it at that time. And then by that time, we can take a look at, but off the cuff, I believe
So we just
where
need
it
to
was
put it
left is
under
we might
old
need to
business
just
at the
restart
next
the whole
meeting.
thing. Yep.
I'm perfectly
You're
fine.
requesting, okay, so so we'll just, under old business, the next meeting, put it back on and we can discuss it.
You need a second?
I don't think we need to make a motion just to put on that.
No, we'll just add it to the agenda. I mean, it's not gonna be like a hearing or anything, it's just for you,
Just for us to
discussion for
reconsider,
you.
and if there's agreement, then it'll probably have to go back through P and Z and all that,
Mhm.
most definitely, so. Right, next up, mayor's reports. Just want to echo everything about the tree lighting. It's always good when they come on, and I think they've come on every year. It did come on early that one year when the kid flipped the switch before it was time, but since then, they've all came on time, so. And then I did want to, just mention something else that I've asked staff to look into, that I looked into for a while, just to make sure there's not any, before I have them do any more work on it, there's no this big objections to it, but with the growing amount of even single-family rental properties that we have in town with people renting out houses, I think it's kind of time for us to look at a rental registration ordinance where we know we have contact information for all of these landlords, and along with that, some type of inspection thing moving forward, so these properties get inspected on a, some sort of basis, because, I get, several emails about people, complaining about rental properties that they're in, landlords not doing anything, and that would maybe just give us a little bit more to go on, so.
So the registration side we have now, there's like a landlord permit for that, where, yeah.
We're talking about with the inspection side and all that.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to clarify for the board that part we do have, so you'd be asking for the inspection side of it.
So if no one has objection to that, we'll look at doing that. I know some surrounding communities are doing that, and I think it'll give us a little bit of help on that, so. All right, so we'll continue to work on that. Apparently Mark's not gonna be around to do that. We'll have somebody else be doing that, but, moving forward then for next year, we'll be looking at that, so. That is all I have. Do we have any for executive session?
We do 3 and 13 for personnel.
13, so I'll entertain a motion into adjourn into executive session. So moved. Motion from Alderman Skinner, I have a second. Any discussion? All right, this will be a roll call.
Alderman Knox,
Yes.
Alderman Bray,
Yes.
Alderman Skinner,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Mills,
Yes.
Alderman Sol.
Yes.
All right, executive session.
Want someone?